DJ is a very hard job, you guys. We always have to be up to date. It's very taxing on our body. It takes all of our energy. And sometimes we just need to treat ourselves. And guess what? Girl on the Rocks has got you covered. Indulge NYC is our cookie sponsor for Feed the DJ podcast. And today we actually have two special flavors for you today. One of them is actually a brand new flavor, and one of them is a classic. Now, the different flavors from Indulge NYC, as you can see, are still growing. So make sure you head over to their Instagram and make yourself an order of these cookies. Today, we have Coconut Butter Crunch, which is one of my favorites. And today, the brand new flavor we have is the Lime Sugar Cookies. So big shout out to Maddie from Indulge NYC, woman-owned and operated business right here on Staten Island. Make sure that you tell them that Girl on the Rocks sent you. Hey guys, it's your favorite girl on the Rocks, of course, and we are here for another episode of Feed the DJ podcast, season 2. And we're going to start this episode off with a story time, a personal story from my archives. And when I say archives, I mean this past weekend. So, you remember how we always talk about building relationships here on Feed the DJ podcast? Well, I was in a little bit of a pickle. Luckily, everything worked out, but I was in a little bit of a pickle, right? So, a few years ago, I was at a venue with an ex-boyfriend of mine, which, now that I think back on this story, it was his fault. But anyhow, I digress. So I was performing at this venue, and we ended up having like this big, massive fight at the end of the gig at this venue between myself, my partner, and some of the staff at this venue. We're going to leave the venue unnamed because everything went as planned this weekend. So y'all are cool in my book now. Before, not so much. But anyway, so I had this gig this weekend, and I have all of my clients fill out like a form when they want to book me with all of the information. I knew it was just going to be easy to get there. I did not go in and check the location when they booked, which is my fault. See, we're being accountable here on Feed the DJ today, okay? And so the day of the event, I'm getting ready. I'm like, all right, cool. It can't be too far away. I look up the location, and I'm like, oh, it's there. What am I going to do? So I disguised myself, of course. I put on a wig and these big glasses to this event. And guess what? Nobody recognized me. Everybody loved me. And it all worked out. So moral of the story is, don't freak out at your events. Luckily, we waited until the end of the event to have this whole back and forth with the staff at this location. But listen, make sure that you guys are being nice to the venues, okay? Because they're going to want you to come back, or the people that are booking you are going to end up having their events there. And it's just important to have those good relationships. So I actually learned the kind of hard way this weekend. You guys had to see it. I had to call Kenny, my engineer, and call them like, do you think they're going to remember me? Do you think they're going to kick me out? Because they already paid. So it's like, I have to do this. Like, what are we going to do? So I threw the wig on, and I'm like, this is a very calm hairstyle we have here. The wig that I had on was like Foxy Cleopatra, big blonde wig, like nobody for 1,000 miles would have knew who I was. So luckily, I gave them the Girl on the Rocks spin, so they knew exactly who it was by the end of the day. All right, so a little story time to start this episode off. Now, I have two special guests here with me today that traveled to come and see your girl on the rocks. I honestly love when my special guests come from far and wide to come to the studio because it just means so much. As a DJ and event person, putting together events on Staten Island and trying to get people from different boroughs and different cities and wherever, sometimes it seems impossible. So I'm so happy that this podcast can help to invite some of our friends from all over to come right here to Hub 17, which is, of course, a gem in the Staten Island community. So if you guys are not familiar with Hub 17, make sure you go follow them online. So I have Skin Up here with me at the table, and I have Precursor Mentality. My live studio audience, please give a round of applause to our guests.
What up? Thank you.
Shout outs to my live studio audience also. Love them all so much. That's what we do here. All right, we're just building community. That's all we're doing. So, you guys, thank you for joining me. Let me in on some of the things you have going on. Skin Up. You came all the way from Atlanta to come hang out with your girl. What do you have going on right now?
So we just dropped a new song this week, Tuesday. It's called Overthinker.
Yeah.
We've been up here for a promotional run.
Yeah.
So yesterday we filmed a music video, a couple TikToks, and then now we're at the podcast. I got my boys Pedro and Goose back there.
Yeah. We got the fam in the back.
Tito on the camera over there.
Absolutely. Hey, Tito. We all actually met at an amazing event that we all did out at the Brooklyn Music Kitchen. Give us a little bit of a walkthrough planning that and getting set. Was that your first time here in New York City?
That was my second time.
Second time?
Yeah,
all right, cool. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was a cool event. Me and Tito and Apocalypse, we all set that event up over there in Brooklyn. We did an event here as well at Hub 17.
It was a 2-day event.
Yeah, it was a 2-day event. So yeah, there was a lot of work that went into that, about 2 months planning, getting the lineups, all that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, it went well. It was fun.
Digital Madhouse. It was a vibe. It was hosted by this really great girl. I mean, Girl on the Rocks, that is.
It was turned.
That was a really good time. That was a really good time. I really like the venue, Brooklyn Music Kitchen.
Yeah, that's a cool place.
We gotta head back there.
For sure.
For sure. Now, Precursor Mentality, thank you for joining me.
No, thank you for having me.
We met here at Hub 17.
That is true. Yes, back in June, I think.
Yes, for the Pass the Aux producer event, which was so fun. And I'm happy that we were able to still follow up and get you here on the show.
Absolutely.
So thank you for driving out to see me. What do you have going on these days?
So most recent excursion I did, I played a beat set in Richmond, Virginia. Nice. Airwaves, curated by Hidden Jungle Entertainment. Super dope time. Yeah. Was actually my first time traveling out of state. Well, not necessarily out of state, but outside of like the tri-state area. Okay. Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, that sort of thing. Yeah. Virginia being my first time outside of that area, doing a beat set down there, and it was a whole lot of fun. I actually got to connect with some folks that I've only known online. Yeah. They actually pulled up to the event, and it was just a blast.
Preparing yourself to travel as a performer, what is that like for each of you? Now, I know you've done it a few times, and you just did this for the first time, so tell me a little bit of what it's like to prepare for that.
The grind's real. A lot of hard work to get to where you want to go. It's a real commitment, and it shows how serious you are about your craft. Yeah. It's just a lot of hard work and stacking the money to be able to get that. Yeah.
That's what it really comes down to, right? Making sure that you can have a place to get back to after you're done.
Exactly.
Big facts.
Exactly.
So how did you prepare?
I mean, a lot of it was, I'm not going to hold you. I actually had a decent amount of miles I was able to cut on like the flight. Nice. To get down to Virginia. And then I also, like, with my job, I was able to get, like, discounts on a hotel in the area, so that also came out relatively cheap as well. Yeah. So I was kind of just leveraging what I had. Yeah. And as far as, like, the musical side of things, I was just trying to get, like, whatever new beats done I could so I could have something new to play down there. Yeah. I'll still mix in, like, the beats I've already got loaded into the 404, but I really wanted to make sure I had, like, something new. Because, I kind of adopted this from Designer Dreams, who I know has been on the podcast as well.
Yeah, shout outs to Designer Dreams, my guy.
He said, I know he said, he always tries to have new beats on hand when he goes out to, any show. Yeah. So I really dug that philosophy, and I've tried to adapt that as well. Yeah. Some results better than others, admittedly, but it's definitely something I strive for as well.
Absolutely. And so what about picking what you're going to perform when you're going to a totally new crowd in a totally new place? What does that process look like?
Yeah, that's fun. I'm a student of the craft, so, it's always learning every time, which direction to go. Usually I kind of go off what I did before and then build on that. Yeah. So if we had a performance a week before or so, that went well, then we'll keep on going with that. If it didn't go well, scratch a couple songs and add some things. It also takes a lot of engineering to do, so we'll sit down on the computer and really build the sets and get visuals done and have the whole event ready.
Yeah, no, your visuals were fire. We're going to break down your performance in just a second for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So tell me how you're preparing for different gigs. And I know that it's a little bit different when you're doing a beat set as well. So let us know a little bit about that.
Yeah, really, lately it's just been keeping in like beats on the 404 that have gotten like really good feedback when I play them live. And I'm like, all right, this is going to work in front of a brand new crowd. And then also trying to just make new stuff. Like I said, a lot of the set list admittedly is done on the fly, like when I'm actually on stage. I don't per se have a set list of like what song goes in what order. I did when I first started, but lately it's been a lot more freeform, which actually has still worked with letting the beats flow together.
Absolutely. I agree too. I'll prepare something, but 9 times out of 10 I'm probably going to play like 25% of what I prepared and just jump around all throughout the night, because it's just about what you're feeling in that moment. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So I want to talk about my first time meeting each of you before we jump into our main topic of the day. Sure. Now, Skin Up, your performance was great. You had visuals, you had everybody engaged, and from the moment we got to the venue to the time you got on stage, you were on top of everything.
Thank you.
So when did you become a live performer? Because, of course, you have your recording artist and you have your performing artist. So at what point did you make that crossover?
Well, I've been performing since I was a little kid. I was in the chorus when I was in middle school, and then also in the band too. And then when I got into high school, I kind of dropped all that. Decided to switch into my artist vibe. So I've been performing since high school.
Wow.
Just creating my own events and then jumping in front of people. Yeah, so.
Dang.
What would you say is the biggest growth point from then to now?
Zoning in on everything, like being actually serious about it,
Yeah.
So like obviously that was a long time ago, but yeah, so about 3 years ago I decided to like really zone in on my artist craft and just really take it serious and just find out what I wanted to do.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And so you're also an artist as well.
Yes.
Tell me more about this.
I mean, so lately I have been way more focused on like the production side of things, but I do have a couple of rap singles under my belt. The ones I'm most proud of also have like featured artists on them.
Yeah.
The most recent one I put out was actually back in 2020. It was a song called Gather Round the Fire, which was the first song that I put out on like DSPs that I actually made the beat for myself. And I was able to get Casmeta and Mouth Warren of the Scribbling Idiots to jump on the track with me as well. But at the time, I thought that song was like incredible. In fact, I still think it holds up.
As you should.
Yeah, but like some of the stuff I've been working on behind the scenes lately, that stuff has been coming out crazy. It just needs like some finishing touches on it and whatnot, and then that can get put out. And I'm really excited to get that out.
Ooh, I'm excited to hear it. I really want to get into the difference between engineers and producers.
Word.
Okay.
And how they can also work together too, right?
Yeah.
So I have the official definitions here, if you will. So engineers focus on the technical aspects of recording music, such as setting up the equipment, choosing microphones, operating the soundboard, things like that. The producers focus on the creative aspects of recording music, such as arranging the song, deciding its sound, and contributing to its composition. So, and I know that each of you have experience in both. You were an engineer before you made your own music, and you're a beat maker right now.
True.
So what do you think are the major differences between the two?
Want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that definition where the engineer is more focused on the technical side of things.
Yeah.
And then the producer is in charge of, okay, what element comes in, what element drops out. But even still, like a good producer can also know like how to direct the engineer to like bring stuff in louder, bring stuff in lower. I had a little bit of experience with this with the last release I had that got put out, which was a remix for a friend of mine. And I actually was both the beat maker for the remix, but I also wound up engineering it as well.
Yeah.
So that was a unique experience for me because I've never done that before. So I was able to sit down and be like, okay, so I don't like how this sounds here, so I'll have to cut this, and then I can bring this back up after all the vocals come out. So honestly, having both under your belt is like a really cool skill set to have.
Sure.
And I mean, there's definitely differences, and there's definitely people that excel at one more than the other.
Yeah.
But having both is like really cool, and that's something I really want to try to like delve more into.
Absolutely. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely like that. I would say an engineer can also turn into an executive producer a lot of times. So you'll be in the room and you'll record somebody, and they'll need help with lyrics or help picking beats out with them. So a lot of times you'll actually become an executive producer just off the rip. Like, yeah.
I see here. So TMZ, I actually got to see you perform.
Yes.
So you had that drop in May. You also had Overthinker drop. You have some new merch dropping.
Yes.
Like, when do you sleep? Like, what does this schedule look like?
It's never sleeping. I promise you that. Never sleeping.
So what is your process as far as consistency?
Yeah.
What is your regular day-to-day like?
So I wake up, I get on the computer, I check all my emails. I'll call Tito actually, and then we'll brainstorm on what we should go through that day, through the week if it's Monday, and we'll start executing things. So if it's on something with Photoshop, creating graphics, if it's recording a song, Tito might send me a beat and give me an idea for that.
Yeah.
Just a different thing every day.
Tell me about this box you have, Precursor Mentality. It's time to bring the box into the chat. Let's bring it in. Let's do it. Bring in the props.
So this is like just a box of records that I have, but also like serves as like influences as far as like what influences me, like when I'm sitting down to like make a beat.
Yeah.
Other producers and whatnot that I've been like heavily listening to and feel like I've been heavily inspired by and I've like drawn elements from and that sort of a thing. Mm-hmm. So real quick, I will absolutely give props to Piece 586.
Nice.
This is one of the first albums I believe he produced on, The Earthworm by LPG, which is a absolute classic. And this is one of his more recent albums, which I believe is called 3D. And both of which are like super dope. In fact, actually, fun fact, for a beat making contest I had to do a while back, we had to use one of the same samples he flipped on Earthworm. Yeah. And I was like, how the heck am I going to flip this now? Because I've heard this song like a billion times. Yeah. That when he made the song, and I'm just like, okay, well, I really have to try to come with it. And it wound up. I wound up getting a couple other rappers to jump on it after the contest was said and done. Yeah. And I really like how that one's coming out. I know. I keep alluding to like a bunch of foreshadowing, but that one's gonna be really dope when that drops.
What else do we have in Pandora's box over here?
We got a lot. Sticking to like the Tunnel Rats theme. Yeah. This is Dirt Floyd, The West Side of the Moon. So Dirt used to be a member of the Tunnel Rats as a beat maker, but he also put out some solo beat tapes, and in this one he was only sampling Pink Floyd. Yeah. So this one he originally put out for free, like maybe back when I was in high school. Okay. Originally it had like 34 tracks, I want to say, which they cut back for this vinyl release. But this is still one of my favorite like beat making projects. To this day. This was a vinyl issue, I believe. Street Corner Music, I believe, put this out. Isolated Music, I apologize. Okay, but gotcha. This project right here is absolutely wild.
What were your first steps? What were your first introductions to music?
So first introduction, that actually ties into this.
Yeah.
This here is one of LA Symphony's 12-inch singles, which I actually was able to get autographed on a recent trip. They actually did a reunion show out in LA back in August, and I was able to attend that. Ooh. Which is how I was able to get all these autographs on here. But so the reason I bring this up is the first like rap song I ever heard was San Diego by LA Symphony. And it's just this like crazy jazzy boom-bap West Coast track, which when I first heard this, it wasn't on the 12-inch, it was actually on like a CD. And I had no idea what that was because I think I was in like third grade, and where I was in Jersey, there was like no one to tell me what the heck hip hop was. So it took a lot of like digging and trying to find other stuff that sounded like this. But this I will credit as being like my first introduction to hip hop is San Diego.
Fire. And what was your first introduction into music? I know it was such a long time ago because you've been performing and doing it for so long. But what are your earliest memories of being introduced to sounds that you love?
I remember the first song I loved was a Green Day song. It's Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a bowling alley in Nashville, Tennessee. And they you know how like they have screens in bowling alleys sometimes?
Yeah.
They were just playing the music video up there. And I was probably like 5 years old. And it just stuck with me right there. And I think that's why I love rock, rap, to be honest. I've just always loved pop rock, stuff like that.
So what would you say, and I'm sure you don't want to put yourself in a box, but what would you say is your overall genre for your music?
Rock, rap, and like pop music.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're trying to like move towards the pop. We actually just filmed a music video to a new song, and it's more of like bedroom rock.
Nice. Did you shoot that out here?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah? Oh,
cool.
Nice.
It's really
and you did it while you were out here?
Yeah, yeah.
And how many days have you been out here again?
3.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
3.
I just want y'all to know.
Yeah.
He's not playing. He's
not
working.
Playing.
The schedule is scheduling.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell us about some of the new merch that you have coming out.
For sure. So I have the Skin Up logo merch right now, and that's just like, you know, to get the brand out there if you want to support and support me as well. We're also dropping Overthinker merch this Monday.
Yeah.
So it's merch to the song, and it's going to help raise awareness to anxiety and people that are dealing with suicide and depression. So yeah, there's actually a crazy story behind Overthinker. So 3 years ago, I went through a tornado. It destroyed my whole house.
In Atlanta?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
it was
my
crazy.
Goodness.
And yeah, during that process, I made that song. That's why it's like Far From Home, I Feel Alone.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we were rebuilding our house, and I was in another house and just made that song. That's how I was feeling at that time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, thank God you weren't. Were you hurt at all?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not
okay.
at all.
How about everybody at home? Family?
Yeah, we were all good.
Okay.
We were there, but we were
Wow.
okay for sure. Actually, the whole town, nobody died. Luckily.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, this is a DJ producer podcast, but I've never actually met anyone who's survived a tornado.
Right.
So like,
it's really rare.
Yeah. Like,
sure.
so what happened? Like, walk me through this.
Yeah. If y'all want to know, for sure.
Yes.
So my friend actually lives next door to me. He heard the storm was coming. I didn't know it was actually coming, and he gave me a call, and I was just sitting in my room chilling. And he told me like, yo, y'all should be careful tonight. There's going to be bad weather.
Yeah.
So we're checking the news channels and doing all that. And it's just getting closer to us. Like, we see it on the radar, and it's a long track tornado. So it came from all the way from Alabama to Atlanta. And yeah, so we're sitting there for like 30 minutes watching this thing come this way. And it gets close enough to where we're like, oh, we need to really like get in a bathroom or get somewhere safe.
Yeah.
So we get in the bathroom, we bring all our pets in there, and it just hit the house, and it was the most loud noise I've ever heard.
Wow.
Craziest stuff I've ever like heard going on. Like, you can't see it going on because you're inside, but yeah, it was really loud. The whole house was shaking, and then like right after it got completely silent. Like, it was like, what just happened? Like, we almost felt like we died because it was so quiet. You know, after it, we were like, wait, are we?
Did this really just happen?
Facts,
right.
Facts. And the walls were shaking. It's like, what just happened? So like 5 minutes ago, we hop out the bathroom and we go outside, and our house is just gone. Basically, it was like our bathroom, and the whole roof got pulled off of it, and then the back of the house got crushed by a tree.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so happy that you're here with us.
I'm happy I'm here too.
Isn't that a crazy story?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Oh my goodness.
No cap. It was crazy.
Wow. And so, you know, you lost everything.
Yeah.
Pretty much, right? So how do you pull yourself back together again, right? Because you have everything you're piecing back to life. Like, what brought you back to music after that? Because I'm sure that you were broken at that point. Like, what else is there? So how were you able to bring yourself back to what you're passionate about after that?
It was actually crazy too, because I had just dropped Punk Kid like 3 weeks before it happened. Like, this was a big release for me too. I thought like this was about to be it, you know, like that was the one.
Yeah.
And so this happened, and it was like a huge blow to my music career, actually. For a while there, I wasn't even able to make music at all because I was just dealing with real life stuff, you know? And it actually just helped me like motivate myself more. It's just one of those things, like when something happens to you, you realize like how grateful you should be about things, you know? And I just locked into another mode after that. I knew what God wanted me to do, and I went for it.
That is a perfect segue because I want to break down your bio.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
I want to break down your bio. Wait, before I break down your bio, you guys have very cool names, and I want to know. I need to know.
Yeah.
This is a very common question we get here because band names, DJ names, and performer names always have a crazy, unique story added onto them. So tell me how you came up with your name, and then Skin Up, we'll find out about your story too.
So Precursor Mentality came about in high school, actually.
Okay.
What I was doing was I was sitting down and I was trying to think, okay, what are 2 words that can like go together that normally would not go together?
Okay. And
then I just started just writing down combinations of words. And one of the combinations was Precursor Mentality. And that one just stuck with me the most.
Yeah.
So I've been rocking with that name pretty much ever since junior or senior year of high school, I think.
Wow.
Now the name has evolved to actually take on some sort of a meaning.
Okay.
Me being very big on being a Christian, in 1 Corinthians, it talks about how we know in part now, but we will know in full later on.
Yeah.
So basically I have the precursor mentality, the first mentality until we know later on.
Oh, that's hard.
That's hard.
That's fire. That was interesting. That kind of gave me chills a little bit.
Facts.
Now tell me, Skin Up, how did you come up with your name?
Skin Up, so it's like a real word. It's the definition is it's an old 60s term from Great Britain. So it's a British term, and it means to roll a joint.
Ooh, I just learned something new.
So whenever you're rolling joint, just be like, I'm skinning up.
You guys, we got some new Feed the DJ lingo.
Lingo.
I have recently really gotten back into my whole spirituality, and recently I was on not a call, but I was just talking to a friend of mine, and I was just like, with all of the crazy distractions and all of the craziness in the world, right? I feel like, the mainstream things that are out there are not necessarily the best things for us to be ingesting. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to music and media, social media, things like that. So how do each of you kind of stand on what you believe in? And I'm not saying how are you adding the word into your music,
right?
But you know what I mean? Like, how are you able to filter these things out?
I would attest a lot of that to some of the Tunnel Rats influence, actually, because the Tunnel Rats were making it a point. They're still making music, but back when the earlier releases were around, they were making it a point that they are striving to be the best they can possibly be. And they would actually call out some other artists if they thought that they were being subpar, or if they were only getting popular because they were biting another mainstream style, and that's what the Christian parents want or what have you. And they're like, that's not authentic. That's not God pleasing. Right. So I myself don't see too much of a problem with listening to non-Christian stuff, if you will, especially when there's a decent amount of Christian music that I find just straight up copies the mainstream stuff anyway. Yeah. So I'm like, well, I'll go back to the source then if you're just going to copy this anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, the content could be much better, but then that's where I like the artists like Tunnel Rats, who specifically made it a point to put a high emphasis on quality when they were rhyming. And also acts like LA Symphony. They were doing the same thing. Deep Space 5, Future Shock, Scribbling Idiots, as I mentioned. Those were artists that I latched onto, and literally nobody I knew had any idea what I was talking about when I would be talking about these artists. Yeah. But they actually set such a standard of quality for themselves, and that's definitely come a heck of a long way for me as an artist as well.
Yeah. And so, Skin Up, you literally got a second chance at life.
Yeah.
How are you able to incorporate that into your music now going forward?
Yeah, it's crazy out here. There's a lot of negativity that goes around, for sure. We're just trying to spread positivity. We're trying to make it where everybody has a safe place. So I want people to come to my shows and be around people that they feel comfortable around, you know? So we want to make sure everybody's okay, and we're spreading positivity.
Yeah, absolutely. The conversation I was having with my friend is if I turn my back on all of the negative songs and music, I won't be booked.
Yeah.
Like,
sure.
if you think about it, because that's what people want to hear in the moment. Like, and listen, you might not even be really listening to the lyrics too hard. You might be somebody who's just hooked on tempo or timbre or rhythm. You know what I'm saying? But it was definitely a challenge for me. Like, how could I do that? Maybe I'll start a radio station of inspirational music only. I don't know. We gotta find that stuff. And dope. I think, it's like we have to make the content that we want to see. We have to put the stuff out there that we want to see. Yeah. And you work really hard on making your content like really relatable, funny, cool, or even futuristic. So where do you get your ideas from when it comes to social media and the content you're creating? Because you're very consistent.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good question. Really, it kind of just pops in my mind. I check out other people's pages, get ideas from them. Yeah. Just to get inspired, really.
And then it's the mushroom.
No, we don't do those. Y'all tripping. We don't do those.
And so when you come up with these ideas, are you a one-man show? Do you have, I mean, obviously, of course, we have Tito and the gang here too, but when you're coming up with these things, is it usually just you, or do you have a core team of people that you can go to?
I have a core team, for sure. Okay. I have Tito and my girlfriend. Okay, perfect. For sure.
Listen, 2, 3 is better than 1.
No doubt.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what about you, Precursor? When you are working on a beat, when you're working on something, who are you sending it to? Who is in the room while you're creating? What's going on?
Usually it's just me, but I do have like some friends that I will send the beat back for feedback, just to see like if it's on the right path, if it sounds good, that sort of thing. Normally in the moment though, it's just me. Like I'll just be in front of Ableton, just chopping stuff up, and really, that's really what it is. I'll send it out when it's said and done. But otherwise, it's kind of just a one-man show at the moment.
Now, I need you to just real quick break down the sample Chop Mancini.
Yeah.
What is that?
Mancini.
Mancini.
Yeah, Mancini.
I'm sorry, I'm from Staten Island.
It's okay. It was kind of like an idea for another alias. Actually, that line... that alias came about as a line. Back in 2020, 21, I had gotten involved with a Discord group. Yeah. There was a producer and engineer and also rapper. I don't know if he's rapping as much these days, but he went by the name X144. He's currently based out of Los Angeles, I think. He was doing like feedback reviews on Twitch back during those days. And at one point, the idea came about where a bunch of us who were constantly submitting should get together and try to make a project. So I remember submitting a few beats for it, and I remember I submitted a few verses for it. Yeah. And they had wanted to make like an introduction song to the project. Unfortunately, the project never materialized and never saw the light of day. Yeah. But on the intro, I remember using the line mingling with sample chop Mancini's to describe myself and the other producers that were a part of the project. Yeah. And I liked how that stuck. So I'm like, well, I like how Mancini works. And actually one of my favorite producers, Theory has made a whole beat tape using nothing but Henry Mancini samples. Okay. So I'm
liking this story buildup. Yeah. Like, it's not a simple thing, because most people will just put some crazy thing under their bio just because it sounds good. But I like that there's actually a really good story behind it.
Yeah. So that was what it was. It was remembering Theory had done a beat tape sampling Henry Mancini, knowing Henry Mancini is such a great composer, and actually his stuff is incredible. Not just like the Pink Panther soundtrack, but there's like some other stuff of his that I have as well. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to elevate myself. And it sounds a little cocky, which it is. But it's like me basically saying, you know what? As far as hip hop goes, I'm on the level of Mancini.
Period. And nobody can tell you otherwise. Exactly. I love that. I love that. Confidence is key. Mm-hmm. And speaking of confidence, Mr. got a USA tour coming up. How many stops are you planning to make?
We haven't gotten to that yet.
Okay, so you're still building it out.
Yeah,
okay,
we're thinking maybe like 13.
Wow,
yeah.
That's a lot. Have you ever been on tour before?
Never.
Oh my goodness.
We, we go places, but
of course.
not days after days.
So what are you thinking are going to be the pros and cons?
Yeah, so pros and cons. I know the pros are going to be, it's just going to be really fun. We're going to get to connect with all the fans, get to see all of them, take pictures with everybody, make friends. And the cons, I would say, lose a lot of sleep.
Yeah.
Lose a lot of sleep.
Yeah. I mean, which we're doing already.
Yep.
You know?
So I don't mind. I don't mind.
Have you established a per diem yet?
No.
Okay.
We're working on that. We're working on that. Let's do this. One influence from before your time and an influence that you have right now who is popular.
Okay.
Let's start with you.
Influence before my time. Let's say Green Day, but we were talking about Green Day earlier, so Green Day is like one of my favorites.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And then who is inspiring you right now?
Travis Barker.
Oh, yeah.
Travis Barker.
Okay, I like those two picks.
Thank you.
What about you?
Before my time.
Yes.
That is a really good question. I mean, there's an artist
it's
that
hard,
I can.
Right?
I know there's an artist.
Right? I know.
Because there's an artist I can think of. I don't know if he's technically counts as before my time because he's still making music.
Okay.
I think he started before I was born. And if we'll go with that, then I'll go with Ronnie Martin.
Okay.
He's a synth pop artist, primarily, and I find his music to be like super dope.
Yeah.
And he's definitely made so much music. He started, I believe, technically, if we're going really back, he started in Morella's Forest, but that album like disappeared for 30 years until recently.
Wow.
Apparently it was like they recently just found the tapes, and there was a label that was able to put it out. So technically that was his first, but then he went on. Then he formed a group called Dance House Children with his brother. Then he did his own solo project called Joy Electric, which he released, I want to say, like 15 albums under that moniker. Wow. Yeah, he was prolific.
Wow.
He was absolutely like unstoppable during that run. And then he did another project called Said Fantasy, which saw one EP and then 2 Christmas EPs.
Yeah.
And now he's making music under his legal moniker, Ronnie Martin.
I love it.
So his output's been incredible, and like he's actually not a hip hop artist, as I said, he's synth pop.
Yeah.
But I really like his production, and I really like his songwriting and his lyricism as well.
Absolutely. And what draws you to hip hop?
Initially what really drew me to it was just the energy behind it.
Yeah.
Because I wanted something, like when I was younger, I wanted a genre that had a lot of energy. Maybe at the time I had a lot of energy. But I found like hip hop was something where I was sort of like, granted, I was still super young. I'm still talking like elementary school.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff is flying over my head lyrically. But the music and the tempo and like the beats and everything are definitely hitting like the high octane stuff that I want. So I just like started diving into that. I remember one of the first music videos that I came across was actually by Grits. I don't know if you guys know the group Grits.
Yeah.
They
Faintly.
Yeah, they had a music video for their song Here We Go. And I remember listening to that, and I was like, what the heck is this?
I need this in my life.
Exactly.
On repeat.
That just like blew my mind when I saw that and heard that.
Yeah.
And I like just started, like I said, with LA Symphony, San Diego, but then also Grits, Here We Go, and then just kept diving deeper and deeper and just kept falling more in love with it. And now I even like fallen more in love with like some more mellowed out stuff, like some more jazz samples and some stuff that sounds like way calmer. But it's still like super dope.
Awesome.
So that's pretty much what drew me to it.
Nice. Now I wanna create a scenario real quick, right?
All right.
So let's say you're going into the studio, you're ready to create a new song, you're working with a brand new producer. Who is him? And same for you. You're in the studio, you're like, all right, I know I'm gonna be working with this artist, and Skin Up walks in, right? So walk me through what that process is of you working with a brand new producer and you working with a brand new artist. What are some of the questions you would need to ask each other? What is the vibe that you need to create for each other to create off of one another?
Yeah. I would say we usually like smoke before, get feeling good.
Yeah.
And then like I like to start off with guitar.
Yeah.
So usually we'll have a guitar player in there and we'll get a loop going down. And we'll start putting drums on that, just build on that. And then after that, I'll write my lyrics to it and have help on that too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what about you? What's your process?
I mean, typically, me being a sample-based producer, I tend to start with some sort of a sample and then chop that up, see if I can get some patterns out of that, and then start throwing drums under that, and then also start throwing bass and like other elements on top of that.
Yeah.
So like where in his case, where he's saying he would start with like a guitar player, I might be bold enough to say, record like 16 bars or something, and then I'll take like the WAV file and see if I can manipulate it and try to make something that sounds, because granted, me being primarily hip hop, it like a lot of the influence is going to shine through, especially if like I'm able to chop up the guitar and maybe pitch it down, pitch it up, what have you.
Yeah.
So I would probably start with that, and then maybe try to add some more musical elements. But then to his point, you want to make sure there's enough space for vocals.
Right.
Especially if you're actually crafting a song that's meant to have like someone singing on it.
Right.
So yeah, probably wouldn't get too far until we get like some more vocals down, and then it'd be like, okay, can I add something here, or does that detract? Or is it fine just the way it is and we can just leave it alone and just go from there?
Good tip. If you have writer's block, it means your beat is too congested.
Yep. We got a gem drop here on Feed the DJ. So
gem drop.
Did you learn that in the midst of trying to get something right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay, tell us about that.
There's just too much stuff on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no melodies to fit.
And like, what are those frustrating moments when you're in the studio and it's just like there's something wrong here?
Yeah, it's really frustrating. You just got to go on to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And so, are you an in-studio producer? Do you have an at-home studio set up?
At home, definitely not in studio as of yet. All collaborations that I have done so far, and big shout out to Two Edge and Lexley Nirvana and Proverb Newsome. Those collabs that I've done have all been like, I've made the beat at the house, I've sent it to them, and they've given me like some feedback on it if they need something taken away or added or what have you. And then like the artist will like rap on it afterwards and go from there.
Nice. So before we move on,
I
didn't get to see or hear who you're inspired to from now.
Probably Theory Has It.
Okay.
As far as like modern producers, I mean, obviously also like Madlib. Premier is still making beats, so I guess we can put him in the category as well. But I would probably say Theory Has It is the producer that I would say influenced my sound the most out of like the modern producers.
Ooh, I'm excited. So you're going to be doing a live beat set for us today.
Yes,
what
ma'am.
can we expect from your set?
There's definitely going to be somewhat I don't know if this is the official term for it, but there's going to be some bootleg remixes thrown in there.
Okay.
Which is something that I've actually been enjoying doing since I've been trying to get better at like actually crafting songs.
Okay.
I like to actually try to see if I can in some cases, try to use AI to get an acapella, or if I actually have an acapella, then I'll actually try to like build my own beats around that. So there'll definitely be some of that. There's definitely going to be a lot of boom-bap in there. Okay. I can tell you that.
So you brought AI up. How is AI affecting both of you?
I was about to ask that.
Yeah, like I want to know, like AI is gonna take over. Like iRobot is happening right now as we speak. So how is AI affecting each of you?
AI is kind of working out in my favor right now. There's a lot of things you can do it with producing and engineering.
Yeah.
To be honest, it can help you master your songs, just clear things up. Yeah. Those types of things.
I use AI for editing. But that's for my purpose now. I'm sure I've recently seen a video of this girl. She literally had a VR headset and was doing a DJ set.
What?
In front of everybody and was just like this.
Bruh.
And her hands, you could see her hands on the screen, and she had the whole DDJ. It was crazy. I was like a little shook in my boots. I'm like, no, they're getting rid of us.
Yeah.
How is AI affecting you?
Well, I'm definitely using it a lot more for Well, two things I would say I'm using it for. One, the acapellas, like I said, there is a web based app actually that I use called Chop It. And that's able to, and it's giving me the best results.
Yeah.
Because I've also tried the same thing using like Isotope's RX program, which also has like a music rebalance feature, which is able to take away like certain elements of the song. But Chop It has given me the best results for acapellas. Okay. So I'm not that big on like taking drums out of a song unless there's a song that I specifically want to sample and the song and the drums are just too overpowering.
Yeah.
I have used it for that, but very sparingly. But I've made quite a few acapellas using Chop It. And then also going back to Isotope, I believe it's Neuron. I could be off. I apologize. Whichever one is their vocal plugin. It's either Neuron or Nectar.
Okay.
But that actually
comment in the chat. Let us know.
Please.
I think it's Nectar.
Okay, it could be Nectar in that case. So they actually are really good for like, I find them to be really good for like mixing vocals. Like they have some sort of algorithm that's built in that like analyzes the vocal and they're like, okay, you want it to try to sound closer to like a rock vocal or a pop vocal, a little more aggressive or a little more mellow. And I'll start with that and I can use that as like a starting point. And that's actually been working pretty well for me as well when it comes to trying to like mix vocals.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to hear how all of this comes together in your beat set. I'm excited. So before we go over, I would love for you guys to let us know where we can hear your music, where we can find you on social media. And of course, if there's any gigs you're going to be doing while you're out here still. And of course, if you have any events coming up, this is the perfect time to plug them in so that we can have the audience listen to your beats.
All right. Well, I go by, as I was saying, I go by Precursor Mentality, which is pretty much where you can find me on everything. Most active on Instagram. I do have a Facebook presence. I have a X/Twitter presence, Threads presence, but I'm primarily active on Instagram. Pretty much all of my releases are available on my Bandcamp page, precursormentality.bandcamp.com. There's a couple things on DSPs, but if you want like the bulk of my catalog, that would be over on my Bandcamp.
Well, to lean into that, 2025, we're having the tour. Overthinker is out, so you can go stream that on all platforms. Skin Up Music with the $. You can follow me on all Instagram, all social media platforms at Skin Up Music. And go check out my website, skinupmusic.com, and then my merch site is store.skinupmusic.com.
Come on, y'all. They have the links on links on links on links. There's no excuse. And guess what? We'll have them all down in the description. So make sure you subscribe. Follow our special guest. Please. You never know. You might see them in Atlanta, Virginia, New York, Jersey, a little bit of everywhere. So thank you guys for being consistent. And thank you guys for trusting me to keep our connection rolling so that you guys can come back. Because when I met y'all, I was like, y'all are coming on my podcast.
Thank you.
No matter what.
Thank you.
And we
thought
kept
the same
going.
thing. For
we
sure.
kept it going. So I'm so happy you guys are here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
And I am Girl on the Rocks. Of course, we had such an amazing time here for another episode of Feed the DJ podcast. We are going to enjoy our indulge cookies while we listen to this beat set from Precursor Mentality. Make sure you guys subscribe. I'm your favorite Girl on the Rocks. Remember, I don't bite. I just DJ.
Now, deuce me to allow myself. I'm sorry. Now, self me to my deuce infamy to lose my allow me to your excuse me, man. Allow me to introduce myself.
Oh, this one on me, Rasclad. Oh,
It's finally on now. Yeah. It's finally on now. Yeah. It's finally on now. Yeah. It's finally on now. It's finally on now. A graveyard of hot stars in my cellar garage. I emerge to configurate and concur. Obliterate and observe, incinerate the future. I puncture opponents, leave no brass components. Just change the polar sides, leaking mass involvements. I tend to follow recent times. Your landlines will be cut off by EMP, a whack MC, just destined to be. Head on a chop and block, my rhymes stand fully stocked. I can cold, cocky with the realness, stand rugged and prestigious. Fat Jack rocks the speakers. I burn broken enigmas, get shattered by your dreams of seeing the preakness, busting styles to beat this. Joaquin means uniqueness. I'll make you suffer and repeat this, suffer and repeat this, suffer and repeat this.
It's finally on now. The session's getting started and the mic's getting warm now. It's finally on now. We're going more than one round, so come a little closer. Let me give you the rundown.
Precursor Mentality.
I wish I could describe all of my faults more clearly. Watching people watching me, I only hope that they can hear me. You want me to reach the lost, you want me to preach the cross, but are you doing your part? Oh, I guess you are. You got a fish on your car.
The ones with the fish magnets on their trunk.
Now while you're on the internet, steady debating who is Christianity's best. Deep Space 5, Tunnel Rats, or LAS. Your neighbor beats his wife and is addicted to meth, but you couldn't care less because you got your backpack and mixed cans and thick grapes. Instead of reaching out to those that hurt, you're struggling to pay attention in church. And at first the verses have meaning, but now the curses are leaning. The social outcasts, they don't even know that you exist. Need to resist, saying a prayer with that name on your lips. When was the last time you hit your knees to persist? You're so hip-hop, you live for beats. In every conversation with peace, you're so Christian. You can never explore your own script. You marvel at yourself and say you're deep. Show some fake concern and cover the G. You're jealous of the world, bitter in a quiet sleep. You take it for granted, but what about the people that you know? Seeds will never get planted if there's no one to sow. The ones that you mock is hopeless. They might be the dope kids, the gangsters or the drinkers, maybe the quiet kids, the small ones or the deep thinkers. They are the ones that need God's gift, cause you are too busy with your website greatest hits list. I hope and pray that your fish on your car isn't your only witness. I wish I could describe all of my faults more clearly. Watching people watching me, I only hope that they can hear me. You want me to reach the lost, you want me to preach the cross, but are you doing your part? Oh, I guess you are. Wish I could describe all of my faults more clearly. Watching people watching me, I only hope that they can hear me. You want me to reach the lost, you want me to preach the cross, but are you doing your part? Oh, I guess you are. You got a fish on your car.
Yeah. The ones with the fish magnets on their trunk.
me at the Elden Ring after party, chatting with the upper echelon of God body hierarchy. Wig piece, tinted orange and platinum. Pipe off of my lip, home's magging them. Grocery boy, I'm bagging them.
Block party badminton champion. Poster boy for robbing graves, dressed like a janitor at the Pantheon. Catch me at the ramp and hand-me-downs, Mac for the Lamb of God. It's got it by the major keys to Khaled and your
Eucalyptus oil, spitting witnesses, dismissive in the midst of it. And I just happen to be it. I plan to trick off on my Euros in Berlin and Prague. Then disappear in your tear gas or London fog.
Paris Moon, Singapore rain. Rio de Janeiro weed, Reykjavik coast, Great Barrier Reef. Where could he be? As Obed said he buried at sea. I also heard he wrote the Obed on a ferry to Leeds.
You could ship me off the Bel Air, see if I care. Apparently I snuck her in the day after I left there. Advice from me to you was passed along through my assistant like a high snare. Got you flinching skittish as a wild bear.
Got you on that, I can feel it, this is my year. Moments before the locals, only free with them night gears. Take a breath and maybe draw me that chimera from your nightmare. I could curate some peaches and get a hijack.
Cry baby at the podium. It's obvious that they feelings are full of sodium. Insulated pure odium. All along behind the back passing unnerving with petroleum.
Your lighter, my lighter. Fire starter / fire sale flyer designer for hire. Gotta admire it. Mashing through the mire, the master of my environment. The magic and the science. PhD in all types.
Ace of base and Dracula, never no threshold.
Moon roof looking like a ceiling full of frescoes.
Vomit glitter, Santi Seminole, sick of your pie.
From the whispers at the mixer to the window breaking high notes.
Live fast, die slow, fast and fury Puritan.
I only slow the surfer riding mower through a circus tent.
Centurion bacteria congregating in moonlight.
12 live geeks in this bubble coat, it's the new style.
Freaks no longer come at night, they sleep tight.
Can't just sing a one, finger gun a peace sign.
Spooky like old Disney rides in Anaheim.
Spooky like pallets of animatronics Santa eyes.
Never ever will any of you be us, there's no discussion.
Bogus is as bogus does. Son, you on the road to nothing. There's no one selling slogan tees or promotional buttons.
Integrated hippie straddle chat for those who malfunction.
Hear that one? That's pure Mancini.
Peeped up, finish up, blemish up, menace the sinister. It's him with the, Ben with the, Mike's next to Kim with the lyrical assassinate like toxic waste. Rocks his base, matches I burn up in your face. Travel through eons, mentally they spit it viciously. Slapping up these red-eyed devils, speaking fictitiously. They slipping me, Mike Styles, they slippery. A golden aura, it backs the voice you can't ignore. The monumental essence which crowds was to adore. The shimmering stone lace like stylist, thus is Tiffany. Sages when they meditate, prism filling my imagery subliminally. Thoughts I said it synchronistically. The intricacy, complex levels, my entity. No stopping me, I'm rocking the hip-hop. Drummer drumming, preserve myself to keep me omnipotent. 9 styles, I keep it flowing.
Randomly flip on bystanders.
Blowing up the spot.
Randomly flip.
Take control. Represent.
Tell you the do's and I won't tell you the don'ts. I'll just build the wheels till they manage the most of my time, of my rhymes, of my thoughts, of my actions. Surpass convictions of everyday satisfaction. Transpose with flows, flawless in my timing. Adding commas and zeros to this career climbing. Uphill to up and kill doubt, stress and those enemies that pretend to be friends in my glow. Who am I? I'm the one with no release date, the one who MC's great like a taste of Philly cheesesteaks. If a beat breaks, I need cake, but won't resort to cheesecake. I'll make your knee shake, cause every rhyme I spit's a keepsake for Pete's sake. Cookbook's dope and there's no debate. You wish you had a comeback, but no, there is no rebate. Your hopes and dreams to play with every song that I create. Beat me? You must be in a dream state.
Freak the format, make your heart beat strong. No room to lack, drum whack, you get the gong. You better bring the house down like King Kong. Impact, you format, make your heart beat strong. Don't look to that, come whack, get the gong. You better bring the house down like King Kong. If not, you got to go. If not, you gotta go.
Some fools try to be special, convinced by simple MC.
And now for something completely different.
Precursor Mentality.